The dream changed, and Percy saw a stone tower overlooking rocky cliffs and an ocean below. Daedalus was wrestling with some kind of navigational instrument like a huge compass. He looked years older than he did in the last dream. He was talking to a boy about Nico's age. The boy's name was Perdix, and he kept calling the man Uncle. Perdix kept going on about death and how to build a new body for someone. "You've told me about your automatons for bulls, eagles, dragons, and horses of bronze," Perdix said. "Why not a bronze form for a man?" "No, my boy," Daedalus said sharply. "You are naive. Such a thing is impossible." "I don't think so," Perdix insisted. "With the use of a little magic and mechanics together, with a little work, one can make a body that would look exactly human, only better. I've made some notes." He handed the old man a thick scroll. Daedalus read for a long time. His eyes narrowed. He never saw or thought of anything like what he saw in the scroll. "It would never work, my boy. When you're as old as I, you'll see the reality around you more clearly. Now run along." Perdix didn't seem to notice the old man's impatience. He snatched a bronze beetle from his box and ran to the edge of the tower. "Move back," Percy wanted to tell him, but his voice didn't work. Perdix wound up the beetle and tossed it into the sky. It flew away, and Perdix laughed with delight. "Smarter than me, my foot," Daedalus mumbled, remembering what people at Perdix's school had said. "Is it true your son died flying, Uncle? I heard you made him enormous wings, but they failed." The old man's hands clenched. "Take my place," he mumbled. "I would like to fly," Perdix said. "I'd make my own wings that wouldn't fail. Do you think I could?" Maybe it was a dream within a dream, but Percy suddenly imagined the voice of the two-headed god Janus testing Daedalus the same way he did with Annabeth. "Choose," the right face whispered to the old inventor. "Choose," said the left. Daedalus picked up another one of the boy's metal bugs. "Oh, Perdix," he called. "Catch!" He tossed the bronze beetle toward the boy, but the throw was too long, and the boy reached a little too far, and the next thing he knew, he was hanging over the edge. "Uncle, help me!" "Go on, Perdix," Daedalus said softly. "Make your own wings. Be quick about it." But Perdix lost his grip, and he tumbled toward the sea. "Uncle!" Daedalus smiled down at the sea with satisfaction. Then he turned and almost got a heart attack by the sight of a woman who appeared out of nowhere. It was Annabeth's mother, Athena. Thunder shook in the sky. "You will pay for the price for that, Daedalus," she said. Her voice seemed to come from everywhere. Suddenly, she grabbed him by the neck. Percy felt what Daedalus felt. Daedalus was getting branded by Athena's bare hand, and then there was a huge light. Percy woke up in the middle of the night, breathing heavily. Grover was awake and staring at the blank screen. "You okay, Percy?" he asked. What time is it?" he croaked. "It's 2 in the morning," Grover said. "I couldn't sleep. I was just watching the Nature Channel." He sniffled. "I miss Juniper." "It'll be okay," said Percy. "You'll see her again soon." Grover shook his head sadly. "No, Percy. Don't you know what today it is?" "The guide said it's June 13th. That's 7 days since we left camp." "What? That can't be right." "Time is faster in the Labyrinth," Grover reminded him. "The first time you and Annabeth went down there, you thought you were only gone for a few minutes, right? It was over an hour." Then it dawned on Percy what he was saying. "Your deadline with the Council of Cloven Elders." Grover took a bite out of the TV remote. "I'm out of time," he said, with a mouthful of plastic. "As soon as I go back, they'll take away my searcher's license. I'll never be allowed to go out again." "We'll talk to them," I'll make them give you more time, Percy promised. Grover looked at him with sad eyes. You've always been a good friend, Percy, but they'll never go for it. The world's dying, Percy. I can feel it getting worse. I feel it all the time. That's why I have to find Pan. You will, man, no doubt. I wish I could be more like you, Grover said. What you did today for those animals was amazing. Hey, come on, you're just as much a hero as... No, I'm not. I keep trying, but... He sighed. Percy, I can't go back to camp without finding Pan. I just can't. You understand that, right? I can't face Juniper if I fail. I can't even face myself. His voice was so unhappy it hurt to hear. He and Percy had been through a lot together, but Percy never heard him sound so down. We'll figure out something, Percy said. You haven't failed. You're the champion goat boy, and Juniper knows that. And so do I. Grover closed his eyes. Champion goat boy, he muttered dejectedly. The next morning, everyone walked down to the cattle guard and said their goodbyes. Nico, you could come with us, Percy blurted out. He didn't know why he said that. Maybe he was just thinking about his dream and how much the young boy Perdix reminded him of Nico. He shook his head. Percy didn't think anybody slept well in the ranch house, but Nico looked a lot worse than anybody else. I need time to think, he said. His eyes wouldn't meet Percy's, but Percy could tell from his tone. He was still disappointed. The fact that his sister had come out of the underworld for Percy and not for him didn't seem to sit well with him. Nico, Annabeth said, Bianca just wants you to be safe. But Nico just ignored her and trudged back to the ranch house. I'm worried about him, Annabeth said. If he starts talking to Minus's ghost again. He'll be all right, Iridian promised. The boy could stay here and gather his thoughts as long as he needs. What about you? Percy asked. Things are gonna run a little different around here from now on. No more sacred cattle meat. I'm thinking about soybean patties. And I'm thinking those fire-breathing horses need to get out more. Maybe I'll sign them up for the next rodeo. Well, good luck. Yep. So I reckon you'll continue looking for that old workshop now. Can you help us? Annabeth asked. Don't know where it is, but Hephaestus might. That's what Harris said, Annabeth agreed. But how do we find him? Iridian pulled something out of his pocket. It was a smooth silver disc with a button in the middle. He handed it to Annabeth. A little something Hephaestus gave me after the last time I did him a favor. An old gizmo he used to play a prank on my dad and Aphrodite. He said if I ever needed to find him, the disc would lead me to his forges. It'll only work once, but I don't have any reason to go there. Heck, haven't had any reason at all after all these centuries. He pressed the button and the disc sprang to life. It sprouted metallic legs which made Annabeth shriek and jump into Percy's arms. Spider! She screamed. She's one of Athena's kids, Percy explained. Iridian looked embarrassed. Oh, sorry, miss. Well, you better stay close, 'cause I don't think it's gonna wait once you start running. And indeed he was right. Percy only wished they had put a leash on the metal spider. Because it ran down the tunnel so fast, most of the time they couldn't even keep up. If it hadn't been for Tyson and Grover's excellent hearing and smelling, they never would have known which way it was going. They ran down the tunnel and dashed to the left. They kept moving until they found the spider, stopping in front of a door next to a pile of skeletons. Some were old and bleached, while others were more recent and a lot grosser. The tunnel opened up into a larger room, and a blazing light hit them. Once their eyes adjusted, the first thing they noticed was the monster. A Sphinx! A huge monstrous cat with the head of a woman. She stood on a huge stone dais. The opening behind them was gone, and the only exit left in the room was a tunnel right behind the dais. The metal spider scuttled around the dais and disappeared down the tunnel without even waiting for the demigods. "Welcome, lucky contestants," the Sphinx announced. "Let's get ready to play. Answer that riddle." Spotlights swept across the room. "Pass your test, and you'll get to continue your voyage and expect fabulous prizes. Fail to pass the test, and I get to eat you." Her exciting tone made it sound like that was supposed to be a good thing. "Who will be our contestant?" "I got this," Annabeth whispered. "I know what she's going to ask." He didn't argue. If this carnivorous cat lady was going to ask riddles, Annabeth was the best one in the group to try. "Welcome, Annabeth Chase!" Okay, that was creepy. How did the Sphinx even know who she was? "Are you ready for your test?" "Yes," she said. "Ask me a riddle." 20 riddles, actually, the Sphinx said. "What? But back in the old days..." "Oh, we've raised our standards. To pass, you must succeed in all 20. Isn't that great?" Annabeth glanced at Percy nervously. He gave her an encouraging nod. "Okay," she told the Sphinx. "I'm ready." A drumroll sounded from above. "What is the capital of Bulgaria?" For a moment, Annabeth felt a little confused. "Sophia?" she said. "But correct," the Sphinx shouted. "Next question." "Wait a second," Annabeth protested. "What about what walks on 4 legs in the morning?" "I beg your pardon," the Sphinx said, clearly annoyed now. "You know, the one where you ask what walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs in the afternoon, and 3 legs in the evening?" "The answer is man, right? He crawls on his hands in the morning like a baby, 2 legs in the afternoon like an adult, and 3 legs in the evening as an old man with a cane. That's the riddle you always ask." "Oh, yes," the Sphinx chuckled. "That silly riddle became so old and so many people passed the answer on, we had to change it. Now the second question. What is the square root of 16? 4, Annabeth said, but... Correct! Which U.S. president signed the Emancipation Proclamation? Annabeth, Abraham Lincoln, but... Correct! What's the... Stop! Annabeth shouted. These aren't riddles. They're just a bunch of random facts. Riddles are supposed to make you think. How am I to test whether you can think? The Sphinx asked. That's ridiculous. Now, how much force is required to... Stop it! Annabeth insisted. This is a stupid test. Annabeth, what are you doing? Percy asked. They're gonna let us go as long as you get everything right. No, I am a child of Athena, she insisted, and this is a complete insult to my intelligence and my mother. I will not allow this. Part of him was impressed with her standing up like that, but another part of him thought her complaining was going to get them all killed. Right then, my dear, the monster said calmly. If you won't pass, you failed. The Sphinx bared her claws, which gleamed like stainless steel. She pounced off the podium. No! Tyson shouted. He hates it when people threaten Annabeth. It was about to pounce on her, but then Tyson tackled the Sphinx mid-air, and he crashed sideways into a pile of bones, but the Sphinx got up again and pushed Tyson aside and charged for Annabeth. It was about to pounce on her, but then the Sphinx's own dais squashed right down on her head. Tyson saved the day again.